and visual podcast, a weekly discussion about all things guitar building and some random tangents as well, featuring members of the Guitar Builders Collective from all around the world. The Guitar Builders Collective is a like-minded group of individuals that have come together to share their experiences, knowledge, and inspiration for guitar building. Each week you can join us in the live YouTube chat or catch up at a later point. It's also available as audio, where you'll miss out on seeing our lovely faces and some of the visuals we share along the way. You can also find the Guitar Builders Collective via our forum, over on Instagram, where we share images of members' builds. We've got a thriving Facebook group, and we do hope that no matter what your experience and knowledge is, you'll become a welcome member of this community too. Great. Hello, people.
Hello. Good evening.
So we're on episode 53 of our live stream, but it's going to be only episode 3 of the audio because I'm not going back to do the last 50. And for those of you that are new, because I think hopefully going audio, so on some new platforms, we can have some new people. We can do something that I'm not going to do every episode, which is find out a bit more about the team that are with us today. So if you saw the first one of the audio streams, we were with the team of people that was Arran, myself, and some people in America and the UK. But we've decided that once a month we're going to do it a slightly earlier time when we go live to accommodate the big Australian contingent we have and other people in the Southern Hemisphere. So we'll find out who they are in a minute because they're not all from Australia. But just so you know, if you're on YouTube, when we put the streams up, you can see them in advance. And I'm going to make sure the thumbnail is really clear when it's the Australian one. It's going to have the Australian flag in it. I'm calling it the Australian run. Corey called it the B team. I wasn't sure if that was slightly offensive.
I'm not sure it's called Australian either.
Look, I think we're all kind of used to being classified as second-class citizens here in...
Oh, well, the computer, the internet didn't like Ray's comment he was about to make there. It froze on you, Ray, before you tried to say anything insulting. And of course, we've got Glyn, who's not even in Australia, and he's from the UK originally. So,
I'm originally, I'm the minority here. I'm originally from Wales, and now I live in New Zealand.
Yeah, made the choice.
We're from England and that too.
Yeah, Wales.
For those of you that don't know, travelling from where I am on the southern coast of the UK in England across to Wales probably takes less time than travelling across the state. Do you call it states where you are in Australia?
Yeah, states.
Yeah, because Arran, Ray, Brad, all are quite close to each other, essentially, aren't you?
Yep. Yeah, probably an hour and a half away down in Victoria, but still, I don't know, 5 or 6 hours to the nearest border for me if I go sort of north, and Victoria is one of the smallest states, so still a fair way to go.
So today we'll do a quick intro to everyone in a moment. We're also going to talk a bit about the Yergs Cup, which came out of the Guitar Builders Collective. And I'll remind everyone a bit about the Guitar Builders Collective if you don't know it too. And we've got some other stuff to talk about. I've just been at a guitar show. I want to mention that and mention why I may be a little less focused today, because one of the outcomes of the guitar show was I caught COVID, which seems to be the new thing at guitar shows. I think traditionally people came home unwell. I came home with what I thought was just lost my voice from talking to people over the very loud sounds of people playing on guitars, but it seems to be a bit more than that. And if you're here in the live chat, please do ask questions of us all. Look, Dave's already put, surely the Australian team is the A team.
It's the Anzac team tonight too.
So what I'm going to say is, if 2 episodes ago, Arran and myself introduced ourselves, so we won't go over that again. Arran and myself were here on episode 1, just over a year ago, and Arran was on every one until we realised times changed when daylight saving changed, and that's what made it hard to get people on who were in Australia or in the Southern Hemisphere, because suddenly it would be quite late at night for them, hence having this idea of the later time. So maybe if it's all right, Corey, can I ask you to mention a bit about your building? By the way, everyone on here has been on the show before. We've had a whole episode devoted to Corey, to Glyn, to Ray, and to Brad. So you can always find out more about them then. But just as a quick kind of overview, how did you get into guitar building? And what makes you...
I wanted a Dave Grohl guitar back in the day, and it was too expensive. So I just ended up going to a men's shed. Had a guy show me what to do. So been building for nearly 13 years now.
And you seem very prolific to me. You seem to get bored designs.
I get bored easy, and I'm not working at the moment. So if it's between a day inside or a day out here, I just come out here.
That's fair enough.
Yeah. I don't like doing nothing. So.
And one thing we've talked about with your guitars before is the particular ways you make them with your lamination and your laminated necks. Actually, what I'll do is I'll share, while we're chatting and introducing each other, I'll just share a screen so we can look at each other's Instagrams as well, if that's all right. But yeah, I would say your builds are quite challenging sometimes, or look quite challenging to make. Maybe they're not for you.
Yeah, I don't know. The necks just came from an idea I had, and there's a lot of work go into it, but it's most of it's waiting for the glue to dry. So if I did like a 1 or a 2 piece, I feel like cheating now.
So these sort of necks where you've made them with all the laminates put together, how many types of wood are in this one? Is it 3? 3.
Yeah, it's 3. There's Merbau, which is the dark brown timber, then the lighter brown timber's spotted gum, and the lighter timber is the really nice tone wood called pine.
And do you know for these particular necks, roughly how many cuts were in them? How many laminates?
No, I don't know about these ones. I'd have to. Well, when I make them up, they end up longer than what they need to be, so I end up cutting like more off the actual neck than I lose some laminates because of that. Because it starts with one scarf and then just keep adding to that scarf on that angle, leveling it off.
But am I right? For some of them, you did count, because I'm sure you'd mentioned before.
Yeah. Well, the first Sherrick's Cup one, there was like the neck lengths that I made up were 15 laminations across. And then each one was like a reversal of that, and it that one ended up being 449 laminations in that whole neck. But this other one's it's 3 across 6. That you just showed.
Yeah, 449 neck.
Yeah.
So obviously on the audio you're missing out a bit here, but yeah, it's quite crazy. I mean, I would say for me, there's a couple of things that define your guitars. There's that in the neck, but also you seem to use that blue resin quite a lot.
Yeah. Well, I like blue, so I haven't tried any other real colours apart from I did some river table sort of fretboards, and I mixed the layers in the neck in the blank that I made up of that, like charcoal and purple and stuff in those ones. But yeah, I don't know. I like blue too much. I went looking for an acoustic guitar one day and came home with a Blue Gretsch electric as well. So,
And was the Dave Grohl a blue one?
Dave Grohl had a Pelham Blue 335, and he's had black. He's had an ebony one and a gold top one as well, and there's a new white one too, I think.
Right, because I know the blue one with the, is it Thunderbolts in the F holes?
No,
Lightning
they're
bolt.
just diamonds.
Oh, diamonds!
Yeah.
I'm misremembering that. It's cooler
Yeah,
in my
and,
mind.
On the fretboard, they have like split diamonds, so which is pretty fancy.
Oh,
I
sorry.
don't know, Dave. I lost count. I after the collaboration I did with Dan, I was numbering the guitars in the F holes and that, and then I just stopped doing it. And I'd say nearly every guitar I made's on social media, whether it's my Facebook page or Instagram.
I'll tell you, there's someone I want to get on soon who, one thing I'm interested in with the way he makes his work is his record keeping. He was showing me some of his records he has for what goes into each guitar, how it's made and how it's numbered, etc. And I used to keep a spreadsheet of all the guitars I'd made, when I made them, when I sold them, etc. I gave up with that after a couple of years, and I kind of regret it. So I definitely am in the process of going over everything I've made to look at the images of it and to reshare it and try and make an archive, because I think that's, for me, it's quite important now looking back on it to see how I've evolved and what I've forgotten as well.
Yeah, I wish I kept track of how many I did. Like, I could probably give a rough guess because originally on I made a Facebook page for my guitars, and they had every guitar into it to a certain point, and then I cousin got me onto Instagram, and then for a while I lost my guitar page on Facebook because I deactivated a personal account on Facebook or something, and I lost the page for a fair while. And then that'd be, I'd say nearly 100% of them would be either on Instagram or Facebook.
Yeah,
but it's just a matter of going through and counting them. And
Yeah,
then there's probably some that I haven't put on Facebook too. I don't know.
Facebook seems like a good place, or was a good place for sharing anyway. It's where my early ones were.
What was good about Instagram is you used to be able to share straight to Facebook, Tumblr, Twitter. There was another, no, maybe there wasn't another app, but you could share your one post to like 4 different apps, and you like it's just save time. But you know, I had Twitter and I forgot the password, and Tumblr I deactivated because I never used it.
Is Tumblr still a thing? I do worry that YouTube won't be a thing in the future. All this hard work will disappear.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it?
Yeah, in my delirious COVID state yesterday, I was thinking about today, and I was thinking about how possibly in the future would anyone ever come back and watch these as a sort of archive or a record? Would the videos we put up about guitar building still be useful for people in 15 years' time when everyone's making things out of 3D printing or whatever, right? And then I started wondering, well, what happens if YouTube disappears? What will happen then? Or what happens if it just carries on forever and it's some weird archive where you need old-fashioned technology to access it? Anyway, that was me being delirious from COVID, so I won't talk about that now. But spoiler alert, Electric Lady Guitars Devon is the person I've been talking to about getting on. I first saw their guitars on a reel or a short or something like that, because all the wood comes from locally felled trees, so there's a proper track of where everything comes from, and all the guitars are labelled with the exact pinpointed location on a map of where the wood's from. I thought that was so interesting.
I know some people give flash drives of their builds to the customer and everything. So
I met someone, I can't remember the name of the company, at a guitar show who makes books for them. So just same thing. Flash drive that gets the pictures print out. I thought that was a cool idea. Hey, so Corey, look, we'll come back to you in a bit when we talk more about the Yogs Cup. But Corey also is basically the man behind the Guitar Builders Collective Instagram page. So if you're ever on Instagram, I definitely recommend checking it out, because one of the things that it has on it is you share, particularly in the stories, builds by all the people in the Guitar Builders Collective. So it's kind of like a resource of, first of all, inspirational builds by different people, but secondly, also links to new guitar builders if you don't know them.
Yeah.
I know before I really became active with it, I used to use it as a way to follow people.
Yeah, I'll just scroll through it. Like, I haven't been as active on it lately, but normally I'll give it a scroll through and share however many stories each day. And sometimes I won't be following the person who I share, and then I'll follow them and then share them. And it's just, yeah. Keep saying it. We're all in it together. So, like why not try to help everyone out?
Yeah, absolutely.
I think it's bigger than one person. So,
hey, just for everyone that's actually on the stream, a minute ago there was some feedback, so I tried muting some of the mics. So just be aware you might be muted if you try and talk. You should be able to see if you are. Hey, so just while we're on the Guitar Builders Collective, maybe we could have a quick chat with Brad, because Brad manages the Facebook page. Is that the right word? Can I say you manage it? You should be unmuted there. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm unmuted. Right.
Yeah.
I just started the page, and then we, a few of us admin it. There's not too much to do. There's not too much trouble on there, so it's pretty good. Everyone plays nicely.
It's got. I haven't checked recently, but it's over 1,000 people now, which is amazing.
Yeah, a little bit over. Yeah. It's an ever-growing beast. So there's not. I mean, for 1,000 people, there's not as much interaction as we'd hope for. But I think a lot of people, they'll usually just sort of sit on the sidelines and just watch, and as they get more confident, maybe they'll jump in and start posting some content and sharing a bit.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So, Brad, if I share your Instagram page, maybe you could tell us a bit about how you got. Again, like I mentioned before, there is a whole episode where we've talked more in depth with you, but maybe you give us a bit of an overview about your building style or how you got into building.
So how I got into it, I was just, it was something I'd always wanted to do, and I started, just working on my guitars at home, and started watching Ben Crow, figuring out how to do, your intonation and basic setups and that sort of thing. That was like 2012 or 13 or something, and you just keep watching a lot of videos and gathering inspiration from places, seeing instruments that, you wish you had, but you couldn't buy or whatever. And, it's COVID hit, and, just decided to, after I was doing a bit of tech work with some imports and that, once I had nailed the fretworking, I was pretty happy with that. I thought I want to just jump in the deep end and start building. So, the kicker for me was that I always wanted to build neck throughs. The idea of doing a set neck just kind of seemed really difficult. So I was like, the neck through seemed easier. So, once I saw a couple of videos, there was mainly one from Scott where he explained how he did it. And once I had that sort of clicked in, I was like, okay, yeah, I can do this now. So I just jumped in and started building. Nice. And of course, now you're also teaching building. Yeah. So I teach to build. I teach electric bass and guitar building up at the Guitar Room in Kilmore in Victoria. So yeah, it's lots of fun. We've haven't had too many people come through, but it's a new venture. They have been doing the acoustics for a long time, so they're pretty booked out with those. But we're just getting the name out there for the electric builds, and hopefully we'll see a few more people pop through in the future as we sort of get that proof of concept out there that people can see. You're actually going to make a good instrument with us. It's not it's not a kit or anything like that. It's a full scratch build, all Australian timbers. So yeah.
Sounds fantastic. And what I haven't done yet, but what I'm going to do is make sure that in the descriptions for these podcasts, wherever you find it, there'll be a link to our various social media accounts. But maybe, Brad, I should include things like a link to that page, a page for that.
Yeah, I mean, if you could, that'd be amazing. I find it's hard to Google sometimes. For some people, they look up, various stores or whatever, and it's just not popping up. So I don't know. I don't know much about web searches and that sort of thing. How to target that algorithm stuff. But the more we get it out there, the better.
Yeah, no, that'd be cool. I think, as we always say, we want this to be a space where everyone can share their ideas and share things. So, I mean, it makes the descriptions longer, but it gives people more things to look at and explore.
Well, that's it.
And also, one of the things was my takeaway from this guitar show on the weekend was that some people that are doing well with their selling of their guitars are really on it with their social media and their promotion. Mm-hmm. And I think that, I mean, this is something to come back to, but I think the social media far outweighs the benefit of the shows for me. I know Chris from Franklin Guitars is in the chat, and he may say some of the same things, but
I think if you don't have that avenue to advertise, no one's going to know it's there. No one's going to be able to find it, and a lot of people, they're going to scroll through many more images on Instagram than they are going to watch videos on YouTube throughout a day. So the chance of being found, I would say, is higher through Instagram, or mainly Instagram. Facebook's a bit hit and miss. It's more advertising for anything and everything than content you're trying to find. But Instagram definitely. I've managed to get 2 commission builds out of that. When I was selling imports, I wasn't selling anything through Instagram. It was always selling through Marketplace on Facebook. So, a bit different there. But I've also advertised tech services to do it at home through Facebook. And I've had that add up for maybe 3 months now and haven't had a single inquiry. It's all over the shop.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's hard using the advertising. My brother works in advertising, but on a sideline, he has products that he sells from his own company. And although he works in advertising and marketing, he has to employ someone else to do the Facebook advertising for him, because it's so complicated the way it works with the Google ads. For him anyway, at the level of product he's selling, which is totally different to guitars, even different to Glyn. In a minute we'll talk about pickups, because although the pickups are cheaper than a guitar and you'd expect to sell more of them, my brother sells beard products, and his beard oils are a tenner, so you'd expect to sell more of them than you would a guitar or a pickup. But it's so complicated. I find something to get better at, something to get someone on to help us with, maybe as a discussion point.
I mean, there's got to be someone out there who is into guitars, who's also an advertising guru as well, and knows how to tap into all those the certain words that pull up things that we're interested in.
Have any and the rest of you, Glyn's probably going to be the one that answers this, had much luck selling via Instagram and things like that?
I do a lot of Instagram stuff. Everything takes time. When I started the pickups, I mean, I've been in the sort of guitar industry trade since the mid 90s or mid to late 90s. But when I started this sort of around COVID time, I've got a mate who was a marketing guy who was doing the Facebook thing, and the one thing I can hear his little voice in my ear: keep your shoulder to it, fella. That's what I keep hearing him say that, because you just got to keep doing it. There's no one post is going to do anything. You've just got to keep that momentum going. What I find, because I've done a bit of the old Google stuff with looking at all the stats and all that, is people take about 3 months to buy a pickup. So I'm completely kitted out for that. That people inquire, once if they actually inquire, like they actually email me, then you're probably only a few weeks away there. But yeah, usually it's about 3 months from when they first find you to when they actually decide they're going to buy a pickup.
That's interesting.
So yeah, so I have my website more. I'm quite heavy on videos and heavy on demos and all that, because I'm thinking they're going to come back again and again, and I have it almost like entertainment, you know, because I think that's necessary for them to come back. Rather than it just be, it's not going to happen in one hit. There are too many options out there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things I picked up at the guitar show was someone I know who's, since I've known him, which has been 4 years now, his guitar company has really grown, and he's at every show. And I was like, why are you at the shows? Because if you spend the money you're spending traveling to a show, exhibiting at a show, buying food, parking, sometimes staying overnight, if you put that in advertising, surely that would be better for you. And he said it's about being seen all the time for him, being at the shows. But he also spends $6,000 a year on advertising on top of that. And it's obviously paid off for him because his guitars aren't cheap. But through doing all of that, being there so people know who he is, and all that money on advertising, he's in everyone's consciousness, and it's working out for him.
So as soon as you actually talk to someone, then you have a relationship with them, and you are, you're the one they're never going to forget, because you've actually had a conversation with them. And I usually find that when people, inquire even by email, then usually, often you'll have a sale out of that, or their mates, and maybe not even them, which is kind of hard to track how people get to you. So there's lots of ways. The overseas people tend to find me on Google. Can put a lot of effort into trying to come up on the rankings on that. So it's tricky, but yeah, you just keep your shoulder to it. that's all I could say. And it's hard as makers, it's I talk to a lot of guitar makers, and it's quite interesting how they get to a point where they end up in this sticky little bit where they're trying to go away from bespoke making, and they're trying to get into making a range. And that's the next bit. That's the next hard part, because you have to do your day-to-day's work to make a living. Doing the bespoke one-offs, you can't get out of it to get a range of guitars sorted out.
Yeah.
So I've talked to a few people how they're trying to get out of that, and that they're actually. It tends to just be a rethink.
I know for a lot of people like me, the making is what you like doing, and doing the advertising is not the exciting bit. And it's the same with videoing. I actually really enjoy video editing. I was saying to someone the other day, if I had to say what my hobby was, I'd say it was video editing. And I probably spend too much time editing and not making guitars. And I make guitars way more than I do any advertising or promotion. And I've realized if I want to make it a business, I've got to rejig all of these things around to be the right space. But hey, Glyn, look, when I first came across you, it was some of your videos about how pickups work and talking about pickups. And you came across as a really friendly guy. I know we've had you on before with your whole backstory, but while I share your Instagram page, is there any way you can quickly sum up how you got into the pickup making from your original
quickly. So I was the bloke in the guitar shop who repaired guitars, who didn't really know what he was doing. Everyone's met him, haven't they? And then I ended up deciding to do it properly. So I went to college in the UK, in Leeds in the UK, to study guitar making there. And then did that, and then bought a guitar shop in Leeds where I was, and then had run a guitar shop, secondhand shop for 10 years, and repaired guitars. Taught guitar making and repair in the college I went to for a bit. Came here in 2005. Again, I was still repairing guitars, which I did for 25 years. But the whole time I was rewinding old pickups as well. And then 2012, I started putting this range of pickups together. And then when COVID happened, I just did the pickups. I got rid of the workshop. I had a fancy pants workshop in the centre of Auckland, and I got rid of that. And now I work from home, just making pickups. So there you go. Quick as I can make it.
Quick question about that. Anyone else, if you've got questions in the live chat or anyone else here wants to ask, please do. Why were you rewinding pickups?
Because I like it. I love it. Aren't they fascinating? You know, and there were lots of old pickups around, and nobody rewinding them. Bear in mind, this is like 1997, where there's no information available, but there's lots of old pickups kicking around. You know, if you got a broken 70s Strat pickup, you know, you throw it away, or you just replace it. That was usually, you know, PAF stuff like that. You just chuck them or put them in a drawer. Now there was nobody repairing them. So I sort of learned on those old, what are now classic pickups, which were then just old stuff. So yeah, you can kind of reverse engineer and figure out what's going on, and then make lots of mistakes and waste a lot of wire. That's
I suppose pickups is one of those things as well that, you know, if something stops working on your guitar, you like the average person can open something up and have a look and see if there's anything obviously wrong, but pickups are probably a lot different. If there's something wrong in the middle of the coil, if you know nothing about it, you can't really play. So I can kind of see a lot of people, when pickups died, that was it. Let's chuck them out. We'll get some new ones. It's just not even worth trying to work out, you know, what's wrong.
But in a pre-internet world, where are you going to get a pickup from as well? You know, you just got to go to the guitar shop, and if they've got something under the counter, you'll have that. You know. It was such a different world. I'm sounding like some old gif here, which I probably am, but it was so different without the internet. You know, there was no information to get stuff from Stu Mac. I had the paper catalogue. If I remember having that, you had to fill in the form on the back, post it to America with an international postal order. And about 4 months later, you get this parcel. It was like Christmas. It's woo, and you got your stuff. So I didn't really get much stuff. You just look at I used to look at the catalog and go, I'll just make one of those then. I'll make one of these. But yeah, it was such a different world. So easy now.
Amazing. I hadn't really considered a world where there weren't so many pickup builders, or that pickups weren't available. Because I guess who used to swap their pickups out?
Yeah, and pedals, what are you going to buy? You know, whatever the guitar shop, your local shop has, which might be, you know, the DOD or Ross or whatever, you know. But, you don't have a choice, really. You know, we used to occasionally trog off to London or something and have a little look at Denmark Street. But yeah, it was a different world. But, yeah, so the internet's fantastic. And I you know, even before all this communication between people, which is just like the last 5 years, I suppose, in the guitar world, it was useful before that. Now it's fantastic.
Well, I think even discovering your pickups, Glyn, was through Instagram first. I think I honestly can't remember. It was obviously before we were doing these chats and things, but I'm sure it was your little robot animated, you know, kind of videos that I first saw, and then after that, talking to, you know, local musos and people that I know, a few people that I spoke to had your pickups in their guitars, and sort of talking to them and then connecting the dots, and then eventually, getting for which way that guitar there's the ones that's got yours in there.
Okay.
So it's sort of, that's how I discovered your pickup, was through Instagram first, and then talking to people, and you know, they loved the sets that they had. So it was, when I, you know, building guitars, I wanted to have local products. So I figured New Zealand was local enough for me to get some New Zealand pickups rather than from further away. So I can kind of see that how things. But you know, before that, it was, even if you were a builder, you'd go to your local guitar shop and just get the whatever brand pickup was there, was under the counter.
But interestingly as well, because I had a second-hand guitar shop from about 96 till I think 03. And the guy in the guitar shop was God, and you made it up. You know, I remember phoning up the other people I knew in secondhand shops going, hey, look, I've just got a whatever it is in. What's it worth? And they tell you what it's worth. But I'm like, where'd you get that information from? I just made it up. You know?
Do you add like 10% if it's red? Or does that deduct money?
It's whatever you think, really. So, I mean, so he didn't, because you can't know, because it's a massive subject. You can't know everything, can you? You know, if somebody comes in and they want to talk to you about 1930s resonators, you know, I don't know. But so if somebody brings you one to buy, and they're going, what are you going to give me for this? I'm just going to make it up. So it was quite different then.
Gone are the days of finding the bargain instrument in the garage sale that no one knows that it's a vintage instrument and there's $100 or a mystery guitar in a case that's worth a lot. Those days are certainly gone.
Yeah.
Nah.
I'm always amazed on the internet, like on Facebook groups. If there's something you're interested in, like I was looking at some Arran guitars from the 70s. There's Facebook groups where everyone in the group knows everything about every guitar that Arran ever made in the 70s. And I'll put up a question and there'll be like a thesis in the comments in no time at all. It's incredible. Just that knowledge that's out there and how it exists, and you can access it now.
Yeah.
Hey, look, on a very expect good segues like this, while we're talking about the future and the internet, can we just drop Ray in? Because he's not necessarily the future of guitar making, but a different style of guitar making with his 3D printing. So Ray, maybe
I certainly wouldn't call myself the future of guitar making.
No, but
I think that would upset a lot of traditional guitar makers.
Yeah, of course, but there's something different about what you do, which a lot of us find very intriguing. And I can see in the background, I feel like even since last time I saw you, there's different guitars there. I'm not sure I recognise that blue and white one.
That blue and white one. Now, which way is my finger going? That's actually one I never finished. I made that probably 6 months ago, I think. And then, I got bored and moved on.
Ray, look, again, we've got a whole podcast where we talk to you about your background and things like that and your guitar making. So I'll just quickly share your Instagram page again. Maybe you can give us a sort of overview of how you got into the guitar building and what you do.
So I made my very first guitars as a teenager when, it's funny enough, I was working in a guitar store. And I just life went on. I moved out of that whole thing, and consequently didn't really build guitars for a very long time. And then when COVID hit, I was I'd started doing 3D printing and things like that. And a few people had kicked around the idea of 3D printing guitars, and it took my interest. But when I looked at what they had and what was available in regards to different things different guitars you could print, there was a lot that was left to be desired. One of the most popular ones, which is called the Crucicaster, shaped on a Jazzmaster body. I typically refer to it as the wet noodle. It couldn't be played. I'm probably going to get shot down for that when someone with a Crucicaster sees this, but ultimately, at the end of the day, it's a pile of junk. It's ain't it, but that's what it is. There was no actual real instruments that one could 3D print. And I guess it begs the question of why would you want to 3D print a guitar when you could just make it out of wood? And there's a whole bunch of reasons. Starting from some of the designs that I'm able to get done. where I make the guitars. The guitars are made right here in my office, spat out on that machine behind me there. On top of that, once I've designed a guitar body, I can have a guitar body, from the rolls of filament to built and ready to go in 2 to 3 days. I've got all the materials handy. Just start spitting them out. And that allows me to, I guess at that point, if I have a crazy idea or a stupid idea and I want to see if it works or not, I can make it. I don't have to invest weeks into building it. Of course, there's a drawback to that. I'm not as attached to the final product as what some of you guys are to your guitars. But on the same hand, some of them I am.
Mm-hmm.
So
it seems to be the use that I think 3D printing was developed for, because I was always under the impression that 3D printing was really driven by the racing car industry and the development of parts so they could test things around the world without having to ship things backwards and forwards. But maybe I'm wrong on that. This is what I was taught by an artist I used to work for who used 3D printing back in the day when it was really hard to get hold of, really expensive rigs, and quite new.
I think a lot of that concept came from the very first, when 3D printing was first designed or created back in the early 90s, early 80s. I can't remember which one. I did know it off the top of my head. But essentially, it was printing in resin using lasers and, designing. It was a racing car wheel on the outset. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And now we're finding 3D printing is being used in just so many different industries. You could name an industry and there's a use for 3D printing in there. So I actually work for a company that resells and distributes 3D printers on a commercial level. And some of our biggest customers, and I just got to put my under NDA on. So we do we have a lot of dental customers. So all your dentures can be 3D printed. That takes those people that go in for, like replacement crowns and things like that. The turnaround time from start to finish has gone from 4 to 6 weeks to, from your first consult to walking out with a new set of teeth, can be less than a week now. They probably charge 4 times as much as what they used to, but that's okay. Other ones we have is over in WA. We've got a company who uses our large format printers, and they actually print submarine propellers. They print them in pieces and then join them all together and create a sand mold. And once they've got that mold, they then essentially set the 3D print on fire before pouring in whatever metal that they're going to use. So the uses for 3D printing are so varied. And it can be anywhere from, final production parts to prototyping, or simply just trying to see if an idea works or it doesn't work without investing money.
So, Ray, I find it really interesting. People have talked to me quite a bit over the years about 3D printing guitars, but you've got a guitar background, and the people I've talked to who've come to me before don't have a guitar background, and they're kind of thinking it's they think differently because it's like, oh, look, it's something else I can make. So, but
yes,
but I noticed your designs are quite conventional looking. And
Yeah.
surely the conventions of electric guitar making are basically a shaped plank, isn't it? You know, we
It
have
is.
parallel. And okay, you can go really far, like with a Les Paul, and carve the top. But so I noticed yours are more on the conventional side. Why is that?
Why do I have such cool technology to do whatever I want and I make traditional stuff? Good question. It's a really good question. One of the reasons that I do that I guess I build so many is that if I was to build 3D print guitars for myself and just for me, I probably would be a little bit crazier in what I'm doing and what I'm designing. But one of the biggest things that I really try to do is I want to reach out and basically get the attention of like you guys that are sitting here with me in my office and be taken seriously so that you can look at different alternatives and different potentials and what can be done and get your own minds thinking about how you can integrate additive manufacturing into your own work if you wanted to. I've seen a bunch of people who basically they're sitting at home and they're starting to wind and experiment with winding their own pickups using 3D printed tooling and componentry. So it's bringing that to the masses. And I guess one of the other things is that I don't want, and I will never ever say that a 3D printed guitar or a guitar made from some form of polymer is ever better than a wooden guitar, a traditional guitar. It's just different. It's just different, and that's what I like about it. And I guess one of the other final things would be is that I look at so many different guitars out there, and it's like I'd really love to own that. I'd love to have that guitar, or I'd love another Gibson. I'd love another Fender, or anything like that. And my pockets aren't big enough. And even if my pockets were big enough, I couldn't justify, owning all of those guitars. Especially for some that it would be cool to have, but I'll probably never use. Like the V just off there. I don't gig anymore. I sit at home playing the guitar in my office, in the living room, wherever. So having something like a flying V is totally impractical for me. So I'm not going to go out and spend $1,500, $2,000 on it, but I can make one. And it cost me about $300-$400, I think, all up.
I'm sure if Scott was here, he'd talk about how guitar players are stupid and they just like tradition. One thing I like about what you do, Ray, is a lot of your files you sell very cheap. So it's a bit like if someone's just got a 3D printer and they're looking for things they can experiment with, then printing out a guitar which is recognizable for them but has these cool extra bits like the patterns and stuff that you can pick the colors with seems like a great way into printing something that you might be able to use without feeling like you're printing something totally wacky, which I must say, one thing that we notice at the guitar shows is people like traditional things. People like Les Pauls, people like Telecasters, people like them in traditional colors and finishes. It's a bit harder when you suddenly, if you got something, even if you just got like 81 Guitar Works was at the guitar show. He's got two P90s right next to each other near the bridge, and that's what all these guitars have. They look really cool, and he's got loads of sound options with them. But I can imagine some people look at that and think, "Oh my god, that's crazy! I couldn't play that. It's not proper humbuckers in the right place."
Yeah.
So there is that tradition that's got to get past for certain people, I think.
Yeah. I mean, to give you a basic idea, completely traditional. In fact, that was the whole idea behind it, is that, I wanted Well, one of my dream guitars was always a early 50s Blackguard Telly. And I'm not going to be able to afford a real genuine, 50s one. Then you have, when you do get a little crazy, you end up with bodies looking like that. Looks cool. Rather that. At the end of the day, that's what it is for me. Most people are always going to rather that. Especially if you're spending time and even money or anything like that. People need that guarantee that what they're going to be building that they've never built before is going to be functional, is going to work. So I tend to stick with traditional. Sometimes, I like to mix it up and give you a Strat and a Telly all in one. But yeah.
I think design-wise, that's why Strandberg to me are very, very impressive, because they've actually changed things quite a lot and become popular with it. I mean, that's a really different. Whereas most companies who are doing something slightly different, like I don't know, Novo Guitars or Fano or those sort of people, you can see the tradition in there. And even even traditional colors, stuff like TV yellow. As soon as you put TV yellow on something, there's a huge impression of tradition going on there, regardless of what the rest of the guitars like. But some people can. I think it's very, very hard. In fact, Leo Fender's designs are just, the more I've taken them apart, the more beauty you find in that simplicity. They're incredible.
I wasn't sure where you were going to go then, Glyn. I really couldn't tell. I thought you could say the more you take them apart, the more you think, oh, they could be evolved more. But no, you're right. They've been around for that long for that reason.
Oh, look, just stuff like, if you take 34-inch scale bass, you put a capo on 5th fret, you're left with 25.5 inches. Isn't that beautiful? So you can just see how you would design a jig to cut fret slots for both.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. It's just, And it's so simple. And of course, most people, you say that to a player and they look at you, glaze over, But if you make guitars and stuff, it's that stuff like that. That's smart.
I think anyway. I think a lot of the elements of the early design must be around the factory setups they have and what they can and can't do.
I think even with the Fender, I'm pretty sure the lower horn on a Telly and a Strat is the same shape as well.
Yeah, and the bump.
Yeah, that's right. So the difference between a Telly and a Strat is the upper horn, with exceptions, differences between years and decades or whatever. But for something that two guitars that do look quite different, with the carves on a Strat. But the shape is essentially the same. So you can see how they just would have modified a jig to make a horn and no horn on another one.
Yeah. And how many amplifiers did he design, I mean, I don't know half of them. And there he was, untrained. He was a one-eyed accountant who was born in a barn. Good on him, eh?
Yeah, how the world has changed with his design. I wonder if someone had beat him to it with a different design, whether it would have stayed if it wasn't quite as elegant in the way it all was processed and built.
Well, the man that taught me my trade, he started repairing guitars in 1958. Right now, he died a couple of years ago. Ted did, but he remembers seeing his first Stratocaster.
Oh wow!
Now, to all of us, it's something that's always been there, and you can't really imagine the world without a Stratocaster, like you can't imagine the world without cars. But he remembered seeing his first Strat and really liking it. It looked quite futuristic, but he it was an attractive thing. So,
Well, I guess the equivalent is, do we remember when we saw our first Strandberg? It's not the same.
Mm.
Listen, I know we all make for different reasons. Like for some of us, it's like Ray. It sounds like it's for pushing the design and the material and the processes. I know, Arran, you've started doing some commissions, but they're all for you originally. But we've got a question I wanted to put out there, just see if it is relevant, from Electric Lady Guitars. How much is post-sale aftercare an aspect of your business? It's easier to sell to existing clients who become advocates for your brand and they brag about your relationship with the luthier. Brad, I noticed you already answered this, but maybe you could start by telling us what you do with that.
Yeah, so I'll always generally follow up on someone I've had a dealing with. So if I'm just selling an import or I've done some repair work or a build, I'll always follow up, and make sure that they're happy. Because if they're happy, then I've done the right thing and I'm happy, and I can, hand on heart, going to the next client, customer, whoever, I can put a product for them. I can do the service for them to a high standard. It's how you learn as well. So if there wasn't something they were particularly happy with, you would never know if you didn't follow up. There's a lot of information you're going to take from your customers by actually following up and making sure that they're still happy. If there's something that they need changed, and they can come back to you, and have faith that you can write anything that's maybe a little bit off for them. If you just leave them and let them go off, they're more likely just to do what everyone else does and just take their song to social media and start smashing you before you've had an opportunity to potentially rectify these things. And I think it just keeps everyone happy that way, to know that you do care beyond just getting that transaction complete. That you're invested in the customer's experience and in your name as well. I think one of the most important things for me is building that name, because it's really hard in this day and age to build a reputation when there's so many people out there doing such similar things, and you want to try and stand out. And we all know how hard it is to get off the ground and start getting those customers. And if the one thing you can do is have that drive for perfection and doing the best that you can, then they'll pick up on that and they'll come back to you.
Mm.
So I actually have, from my standpoint, I get to see a different aspect of it. So like most of you guys, you build and you sell a guitar out to someone, and you follow up, see how they're doing, as you were saying, Brad. For me, so as you mentioned, then I don't sell the actual guitars. I don't sell the bodies. I sell the files so that other people can come along, buy and download the file, and then they build their own. And one of the things I've actually found that I actually like almost as much as I do designing and building the guitar is the interaction that I have with a lot of my customers as they start to go through the process of building theirs. I've had one customer who he was building I've got an ML332 sort of body. I'll find it. It's in here somewhere. But it's all in camouflage. And he was asking me all these questions, and he was wanting to know, which pickups would I suggest? And, can I use this neck, that one? And I was talking to him, having a chat. And then I just sort of asked the question of like, what color are you using? Are you going to do this in similar to what I've done? And he's like, oh, no, you'll love it when you see it. I can't tell you. And I was like, okay, this is going to be interesting. And then probably, I think it was about 2 weeks later, I just get a message from him, just one screenshot of this guitar. And I'm not a fan of pink, but I tell you what, he had sourced out from white to magenta, 4 different shades of pink in between. And he sent me a photo of this guitar, and it's just like, I'm looking at it thinking, holy shit, I would play the hell out of that thing. I would rock that anywhere. And, you know, he was super proud of it, and he made social media posts about this thing. And I just sort of sat back, and then it dawned on me, it's just like, wait, that's actually my design. All this joy that this guy is getting from this guitar, that, I mean, essentially, he built it himself. He's getting that from work that I've done. And
that
was
so
really rewarding. And I'm actually in the process of making up a video clip where it's basically all of my designs built by other people, and how they've customized it and made it their own. And personally, I find that interaction with them not just rewarding on that level, but, you know, Glyn, you were saying that, you know, you've had people talk to you about 3D printed guitars and they've never done it before. They're not guitar people. And I get the same thing, you know, and people ask, you know, what neck do I buy to suit this? And just like, buy a Telecaster neck. That's what it's for. And then they come back to me a week later saying, hey, I've got this neck, but it doesn't fit. And it turns out that it's, you know, like yes, it was from a Telecaster, but a Yamaha or some other cheap brand, which has a totally different neck pocket. And one of the things that I like doing is sitting down with them over Messenger or email or the phone, and we're sitting there basically with, you know, stainless steel rulers measuring everything out. So I'm going to modify that file that they've already purchased to suit their parts, get it sent out to them so that they can then continue to build their guitar, even though theoretically they've made a mistake and the guitar will never get intonated. It'll be a 26-inch scale or something like that, which I might have made that mistake myself before. But just that continual interaction with people, and yeah, getting them, you know, seeing the joy that them putting together their own guitar brings. And it's not another $200 eBay Telecaster kit. You know, they bring something to me and it's just like, oh, I've got a set of P90s that I want in this. Cool. Give me 10 minutes. I'm going to send you some updated files. And that's the kick I get out of it.
I know
So
for me,
now you guys carry on.
when I started, it was sort of similar, because the thing I did most was working with people on commissions, and they would come to me with an idea for what a guitar would look like, but they wouldn't really have the skills to visualize their idea. So I worked with them with a lot of back and forth, lots of sketches and drawings and little Photoshop things, until we got a kind of computer vision, digital vision of what their guitar should look like, and then we start making it. And there was always a lot of back and forth, and for the first 5 or 6 years, a lot of my customers were repeat customers. And I've realized now, having spent over a year not working on commissions, I do miss that, and that's something I want to go back to. But I definitely don't do enough of the follow-up afterwards. There's something that Ben from Marstronics does. I think we've spoken to Ben before, but he when someone buys his things from him, so he sells little treble bleed kits. So it's like a treble bleed you put in, but it's variable, so you can change loads of settings on it, where the resistors are, what sort of capacitors you have, what resistors you have. As soon as someone places an order, he films himself bagging it up and taking it to the post box with a little thank you. So it's like a 1-minute little video he sends them. I always thought that was quite a charming idea to do. Gives a sort of personal connection to the maker of it as well. So you know you're buying from an independent small brand, not just some big faceless place. Which I have to say, Glyn, as an example, we had a chat about I was potentially doing something where I needed quite a few pickups. And one thing you said to me is, are you sure I should buy from you? Because it would mean lots of tax shipping it across the world and lots of, shipping. And I thought about it, and then I spoke to a well-known British brand, and I'm not working with them ever again because when it's a bigger company, the customer service is terrible. I just thought it was terrible.
Yeah,
it was quite shocking. No personal connection at all. Very, very disappointing.
Yeah, I'm talking to the customer I really like that. And I particularly like the overseas stuff as well. That's quite cool, you know. I've got a pickup for doom metal, and I'm kind of getting into doom, and that's my best selling pickup in the US, and I love that. Like that's so cool, seeing all these the addresses that you write on stuff, just because they all sound like mythical places from movies in the US, don't they?
I was curious about where your pickups go and what type of pickups are the most common, or whether that changes, year to year, or location.
My biggest seller is the Cruel Mistress Telecaster set, which is like a hot-ish Telecaster set, and then but in the US it's the Drag Doom pickup. There's a lot of people in the Doom, and interestingly in the US they almost very, very rare I'll sell one to a coastal region. It's nearly always flat places in the middle, so that's kind of where Doom is thriving.
That's where all the venues are, maybe.
I don't know. I mean, it's funny. There's a perception that it's professional players that buy stuff, but it's they're a very small. They're a small minority. Most people aren't professional. Most people play at home. They might get together with their mates or what have you. But most people who are really into guitars are not, out there doing it. Which is great.
I think it's really interesting to talk about.
The video you had on that Doom pickup. I watched it yesterday, and I'm just waiting for some funds to transfer because I'm sold. I'm sold.
Right.
So Ray, do you live in a flat area? Because I love the idea you can define someone's taste in music based on the geographical layout of where they live.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, sort of, kind of. I mean, no, I live on a coast.
Yeah, most Australians do.
Yeah, that's true.
And the same here. Yeah,
I mean, it's not 5 minutes away, but the Port Phillip Bay is half-hour drive from where I am. I guess kind of similar to New Zealand. No matter where you are in New Zealand, it's only a hop, skip, and a jump to the beach.
I mean, central North Island can be a little away, but for Australian geography, it's just next door, isn't it? You guys are used to distances.
Yeah, I'm 10 minutes away from the beach, which is great for summer.
Yeah, I'm 2 minutes. It's just there. It's just over there, just behind me. I can hear that if I took my headphones off, I'd be able to hear the sea.
Amazing. Yeah, I can see it from my window.
Yeah, and it's a nice beach. It's a nice beach down there too. Yeah, I've done some videos down there of.
I was about to say it's where you do your little demonstrations in the sand with your dog.
I was thinking, how can I make? It's a middle-aged bloke talking about physics. Yeah, I mean, how dull can that be? So I thought I've got to spice it up a little bit. So I just went and filmed it on the beach with the drawing pictures in the sand with diagrams, and the dogs always cause problems. Whenever you go anywhere with them. So we've only got one dog now. Well, the other one died, but But it's not. Yeah, but having the coast just there, it's and here, see, the country's only half an hour wide. I could drive to the opposite coast. I'm on the west. I could drive to the east coast in half an hour. Yeah. So, this time of night, less than that. Yeah.
The north coast for me is a very long way away from the south coast that I'm on.
Yeah.
So talking about beaches on our doorsteps, I found out the other day that Corey lives opposite or right near the rainforest, which seems bonkers to me.
Yeah, I'm about 1 street away.
Well, where are you, Corey?
Where are you? Corey?
I'm here.
No, whereabouts?
Mid north coast of New South Wales. So I'm about halfway between Sydney and Coffs Harbour. So yeah, we've got like lots of rain. Like got the rainforest straight away. There's waterfalls about half hour, 40 minutes away. Beaches half hour, 40 minutes away.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah, it's a nice little spot. It's pretty quiet.
Every time we talk, there's other reasons to come visit Australia. To tick off.
I'm actually going to be up your way next week, Corey. I've got to fly into Taree again.
Taree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's about my thoughts as well.
Yeah, that's all right if you don't need anything really.
I've just noticed in the chat that Jackson says that he lives in northwest Iowa, which is the definition of flatland, and he's really into Doom. So we've got more proof about it.
Yeah.
I saw a video maybe a week ago, coincidentally, on Anderton's YouTube channel, where they had someone doing the blindfold test, where they had lots of distortion and overdrive pedals set up for Doom, and this guy had to pick his favorite one from all of them, and his favorite one was, I don't even think it was the Boss Super Turbo Overdrive, it might have been the Behringer copy of it, but he was like, you can't beat that for Doom, the sort of intense fuzz he was getting from it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know the music, but what was interesting is he was recommending bands as well, so it was a good source for me to check it out.
There are an unbelievable amount of Doom bands. There's a guy whose name I cannot remember who has these Spotify playlists, and there'll be one which would be like Trip to Iowa, and there'll be like 50 bands from that state, Doom bands. I know there's a New Zealand one and there's an Australian one too. So if you ever want to get into Doom, you just go through one of these lists and you'll find bands. But I've got really into it in the last couple of years, which was quite unexpected. But there you go.
So one of the things that I learned from your video, Glyn, and it was something that I never even considered, was, I mean, we all know Doom as, just wild amounts of gain. So to me, it was just a natural thing to think that a really high gain pickup is going to be ideal. But then, as is explained in your video, it's just like when you're gain stacking that much, the last thing you want to do is slam into your first pedal with that amount of gain to begin with.
Yeah,
which is something you addressed in that pedal by. But I can't remember what the impedance was, but it really wasn't that high.
No, see, don't judge it by the K ohms, because it is sitting on top. It's sitting on a really big fat magnet.
Yeah.
So it's actually quite powerful, but it feels different because the power's coming from the magnet more than the windings. The windings are all designed to get a nice. It's like an overwound PAF. The windings, so it's not like really fat, really really powerful. But it's sitting on a really big Alnico 6, which feels different too. It feels more dynamic when you play a fat magnet with a powerful magnet and a weak coil. Feels different to play than the other way around. Yeah. It's really cool stuff. Actually, there's so many variations in pickups, and I'm just started now designing with a guy. I've been meaning to do a pickup for extreme metal for quite some time, and I got there, but then I realized that I designed pretty much every component, and it was just going to be too expensive to make. But I'm starting again because a guy who I've known for years, but I was talking to him the other day, and yes, I'm going to design one with him. And he's been through every pickup you can imagine. So we're going to be working on this one set together. And that's a completely different way of designing a pickup.
Nice.
Yeah.
It's really interesting.
Sorry, I was just going to say, I noticed with that set for that pickup was that the bridge pickup is a P90 sized humbucker.
The neck is, yeah.
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 And the thought of using a P90 for any form of metal was really, I couldn't fathom it. What is the idea behind that?
Clarity, especially with the neck, because the problem you have, I mean, most forms of metal don't use the neck pickup very often. Anything sort of heavier than Iron Maiden kind of doesn't use the neck very much, because as soon as you go to the neck pickup, especially the more extreme you get, if you've got a busy drummer, you go to the neck pickup and you've evaporated into the swamp,
And it turns to mud.
So if you give it a bit more of a percussive attack, then you can be a bit more present. So that was the thinking there. And that's got ceramic magnets too, and ceramic sounds a lot drier, so you get a much more immediate bass. Whereas most types of music, you want quite a sort of fat, warm, soggy bass, if you see what I mean. You want to wallow in that bass sound, especially with extreme metal, where your drummer is way too busy with a double kick and all that stuff. You need it to be immediate attack. You need to be, So ceramic's ideal for that. So it's lots of fun mucking about with these things.
I'm really intrigued to hear this. So the plan is that at the end of each month we're going to have this time zone set up with us all here and maybe guests. Glyn gigs quite regularly, so may not be here for all of them, but I'd love to hear how that develops. So when you've done it, I'd love to hear what the journey was like and how you went from working with someone with no pickup to an end extreme metal pickup.
Well, I've done it once before with a signature pickup, and that was interesting because it's a band called Alien Weaponry, who are a New Zealand band who extreme metal. They're fantastic. I mean, they're on tour in, I think, Europe at the moment. But what was interesting is when they approached me, which was great, and then I went up there and had a chat. The pickup for them needed to sound like their last album as well, because they have to tour that, and it hadn't occurred to me that I couldn't just make what I thought was the best pickup for that genre. It actually had to fit with what they'd done before. So at least this time we've got a bit more of a free hand with it. But I've made the first pickups. They're not in a guitar yet. But, it will be
Interesting.
How long does that process take?
Sorry,
How long does that process take from start to finish, or is it depending on where it takes you?
Depends on how many times we've got to redo it. And to be honest, I don't care how long it takes.
Yep.
Because I've got to live with that design for the rest of my life, so I really don't care. I mean, I've had them take years.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know how quick the other guy decides stuff. I've learned from previous things to only ever have one other person involved, because if I had two other players, then you'll never ever come to a decision on anything. But yeah, so with one other, and I will use players as sort of test pilots only when it's a kind of pickup that doesn't work for me. Like I don't live in the extreme metal world. I haven't got the equipment to make those sounds. It's not what I do. So I need somebody who really does know their stuff.
Yeah.
So that's why. Yeah.
Yep.
It was the same when I was doing a. Sorry, go on.
I know you get to use your pickups when you play live, you say, to test them out. But obviously, it only works if you're playing live with the sort of music they're intended for.
Yeah. It's pretty hard to do that that stuff in a pub because nobody's going to like you. That's a great test place for me because I play in a covers band. I don't necessarily choose the music, and it's a huge variety of music, so that you can really test a pickup in different, quite different circumstances. So yeah.
There was a quick question in the chat from Electric Lady Guitars. Do you know, is a ceramic pickup going to be better for reducing feedback on a semi-hollow body?
No difference. No difference at all. It's that if it's body feedback, then what's happening is there's, either the top and back are resonating together, or it could be a few things really. You can sometimes change it by changing the bridge a little bit, but no. If it's body feedback, if it's what you got, microphonic feedback. So you tap the body and it's really loud, or just screams like a microphone. Then that pickup needs potting. It doesn't matter what the magnet is. You just need to pot your pickups. So yeah, no, it doesn't matter what the magnet's made of.
Hey, listen, before, because we've already been chatting for an hour and a half, which is brilliant. And we're trying to keep the podcast around this length. But before we go, definitely want to talk a bit about the Jurgs Cup, which is in the second year of doing it. Maybe, Corey, we could ask you to talk a bit more about the history of the Jurgs Cup, as you were so involved with setting it up, really.
Yeah, it started last year after we lost our mate Jurgen. He had complications after a bone marrow transplant, and he ended up having an infection and he passed away. And he was such a big part of the community. He left comments everywhere and he watched a shitload of stuff, and it just made sense to do something in his honour. So each year it starts the day after his birthday, and the following year is the last day of that current. On his birthday is the last, the day that it finishes each year. And we just do little themes, and this is the second year. And yeah, it's pretty much.
And the theme this year is to make a guitar using wood bought from a hardware shop.
Yeah.
Or things bought from a hardware shop, I guess.
Yeah. And it's a loose theme too. Ideally, we just want people building, but if people are stuck for an idea, they can follow the theme. There's no prizes or nothing. You could make it out of a Coke bottle if you wanted to. It's just ideas to try to get people to join along.
Yeah, I think that's great. There's we've got the forum has got a page on it dedicated to the build where people have been uploading pictures as they go along. But as you said, is it May the 24th? Is that right?
April.
That's when we kind of come to the conclusion, and people will have hopefully finished, and we'll have more of a mass sharing. But getting everyone to tag Jurgs Cup 2, I am Jurgs. Yeah. These things mean that if you were on any social media, Instagram seems to be one of the main places, you'll be able to see loads of pictures of other people's builds, and like Jurgen did, just comment along and be really constructive and make new friends like that.
Yeah, there's been a few finished as well, and I know Ian, Mr. E, he sent some through to the collective inbox. Can you access that and show people that or not?
Unfortunately, when I do it on my computer, I get this unsupported messages.
Okay,
so I can't see it. But what I have got is some of the Jurgs Cup builds that are on the website, on the forum page that we just mentioned. So this is Simon who's in the chat.
Yeah, I don't get on the forum as much as I should. I'll see if I can save all these photos, and I'll try to put them on the Facebook while we're talking.
Oh, that'd be great. So Simon's in the chat at the moment, and actually Simon's going to be a guest in a few weeks. And he was saying earlier in the chat as well that he was finding what we're talking about interesting, because he's not making guitars to sell as a business, but he wants to sell them so the money can go back into the charity where he works, which is one of the things we're going to talk about at the when he's on the show, and it's hard to know when to price it. I just tried to sell a guitar for charity, and it was pretty cheap, but no one seemed interested. Can't work out why they weren't interested. Didn't seem to be anything about the guitar. It's probably to do with the way I was advertising it.
It's just the wrong time for sales at the moment. No one's
Yeah.
got any spare cash floating around. The economy's hard and cost of living's up. So all these little luxuries, they're the first to go.
I'm intrigued to ask Simon when he's on about how his bolt-on necks work. These look like bolts that go into maybe matching threads in the neck, as opposed to just screws. Yeah. So I actually did just sell at the guitar show I was at last weekend 2 things that I built for the first year of Jörg's Cup, where they weren't guitars. I built 1-string instruments, so like diddley bows they're called, out of table legs, and they sold really quickly, and people loved them. And I don't know if it was because it was only £50, or because it was for charity, or because it was weird, but I'm definitely going to make more now, and I feel like I could run into being the person that just now makes 1-string instruments out of table legs for the rest of my life. But they were quite fun to make, and what was interesting is people enjoyed playing them. Everyone wanted to pick it up because it was something different, or different to what they'd seen.
I had an idea for a guitar build-off one year, was to have a multiple neck guitar that had 1-string, 2 strings, and go on. It just never happened.
That sounds brilliant. That sounds brilliant.
Yeah. Well, you could have like 1 string each for the standard tuning or whatever. It would be just absolutely stupid.
I've got to say, what I liked about having the Jörg's Cup was that excuse to build something strange like that. I just used all my leftover bits that I had lying around, and it resulted in something that people seem to like. This is Oscar's work, Oscar Duran. He's put some videos up as well. I really like the colour on the back of the neck. The colour combo there.
Nice.
So again, if you're listening on the audio, probably not as interesting. But the idea is that as we get towards the end of the competition or the challenge or whatever, we will ask people to send in lots of their finished photos and then start sharing them like we did last year on the Instagram, encouraging people to look at each other's builds, to comment along, to support each other, to follow new builders, to be really good. Yes, so Simon's just said about the Jörg's Cup 2 space on the Guitar Builders Collective forum, which there'll be links to in the podcast description. You have to join the Guitar Builders Collective forum and then sign up for the individual spaces in it to have access to them. So it's not just a free open space like it is on Facebook. But on the Facebook page as well, people tend to share a lot. As you mentioned, that's what Brad's been managing.
I might have to add Simon, invite Simon to join it. I'm not sure. I just created the space. I thought it'd be people would be able to find it.
Simon joined it in the end because he put the pictures up.
Oh, okay.
I think the pictures of yours are up there as well. I was just quickly flicking over to the Facebook.
Yeah, Mr. E's. I uploaded Mr. E's build. I don't know the specifics, but he just sent pictures along today, I think.
Of the work in progress.
Yeah. He's doing. I know he's doing. Going to be either selling them or raffling off a charity as well. But yeah, I'll just see if I can see one of his social media posts.
I also say that the money that I got from selling the 2 devil bows, I've called them, at the show, instead of giving them direct to a leukemia charity, which was what I wanted to do, and that's one thing that we're sort of encouraging. If you are taking part in the challenge, you absolutely don't have to, but maybe you could buy like a Jurg's Cup t-shirt or jumper. Corey's wearing one right now. And some of that money will then go to the local leukemia charities, to wherever the shirts come through. So if it comes, I think that comes through to Corey, the money. So Corey gives it to an Australian company.
It's the Leukemia Foundation. It was what Jurgen's family, the charity that they wanted donations through after Jurg's passed. But as soon as there's enough to do a withdrawal, I can only withdraw the money once a month at the end of the month, and then it goes, as soon as it goes into my PayPal, it goes straight over.
So what I was gonna say,
Eric's jumper is a hoodie or a sweater. Yeah.
So this is your build, isn't it, Corey, for this year?
Yeah, that's the Jurg's Cup one that I finished a little while ago. I don't know how many pieces is in that neck either, but
I'll stop asking that question. I just find it fascinating.
oh,
But the
I'll
top of this is
keep an tally and write it on the wall.
But the top of this is a fabric top, right? Made from the t-shirts from the first.
Yeah, it was a t-shirt that I got done locally just to make sure that the line print was going to work and not wash out after a few washes. But yeah, that shirt got too small for me anyway, so I thought I'd put it on the guitar.
And this is the one of the one strings that I sold. You could tie it. This guy was so excited for it. His wife bought it for his birthday, and this was the other one. But what I was going to say is, instead of giving it directly to a charity, I gave it via Paul at Milehouse Studios, who's currently fundraising to run the London Marathon. One of the things as a UK citizen is if I donate like that to a charity through a cause, like someone raising money, you can have it VAT exempt. So the government give back a bit of extra money as well. So
Nice.
That's quite good. So good luck, Paul, with that.
Yeah, Paul's next few builds he said he's doing it for charity too. He's
Brilliant.
Yeah, his videos are. I love him. Brad was the person who told us to check him out, and yeah, just the humor and like he's got so many jigs that like you look at him and think, why haven't I got that? So
I can't believe you don't know what jumper is. Anyway, before we go, I don't know if any of you have done this, but Brad had suggested that we have something to show and tell at the end. Brad, did you bring something?
Yes.
Hey,
I'll get mine ready while Brad's going.
I don't know how well you'll be able to see it on the lighting. But this is my Jurg's build from last year. I still haven't finished it yet. Sort of had hold-ups with the finish and everything, and just running out of time to get that done. But we're getting there. I had it all finished up, but I just found so many scratches once I took it out into the right lighting. So I had to sand the top all back and restain that. It had no stain on it just before the stream. I just did a quick 15-minute burst job on there just to get it
looks
looking
great.
presentable there. So yeah, so that's my effort for last year. And before I hook into the hardware store one, but yeah, pretty happy with that so far.
Nice. I love that design as well.
Yeah, so it's just a single cut take on the previous one that I did. So yeah, just a few other changes. I've done stainless steel purfling and the regular frets and white inlays, that sort of thing, just for a bit brighter build in terms of colour scheme.
Cool. I look forward to hearing it played.
Yeah, no, it's this one I started. The reason I used this for the Jerks build because it was that whole theme of use what you've got. I actually started this in like 2022, so it's been a long time coming to get this one wrapped up.
Cool.
There's no time limit on it.
Corey, what were you going to show us?
Oh, this the double neck. I've only got one neck going at the moment. Oops. It actually looks like it's the right way this time. Ooh.
That looks awesome. I'm fascinated by the idea of a 1 string, a 2 string, and a 3 string, and a 4 string.
You can try it if you want to.
Yeah.
Corey, what are you doing with the switching on that? I know you mentioned in one of our chats today that it sounded something a bit different.
Oh, okay. The pickups are going straight to the switch, the toggle, to the volume pot, and then to an on-off switch. And the on-off switch is going to go to another toggle switch, so I can pick which neck's working at the time, and then the bottom neck's going to have the same pickup.
Because you were saying you wanted it switched so both are on at one time.
Yeah, I could have both at the
yeah.
same time, so I could have feedback going while playing one, or
Yep.
the ideas in my head, just whether it works out or not's another story.
Yeah. That sounds like so much fun to play when it's all done.
Yeah. Well, I found out my neck's a bit too wide on the bottom neck for the bridge that I got, so it's going to have like a 8mm like space either side of the neck after the strings are on it.
Yep.
Which is a bit of a shame, but it's too late now. But I had to plug where I had the bottom bridge in, which luckily the timber's so busy that it's sort of hid pretty well. And plus the bridge is going to be over the top of it as well. So
Yep.
the pickups are pretty much identical as well. Yeah.
No, that's very impressive.
Yeah, it was just a stainless steel threading 2 necks and doing the fret work at the same time with both necks on the body. It's not a good idea. There's like so much tape, and then trying to crown them without gouging into the other neck.
Of course.
Yeah. But got there. Yeah, so I'm going to wait until Monday. With some people have doubted my ability to wait to do stuff. So I'm waiting until Monday before I re-drill the stud holes for the bottom bridge. Because there's this misconception that I can't wait to do anything. I'll just jump in.
It's partly because, Corey, you're just constantly uploading pictures of things progressing so fast. It doesn't feel like whoever.
As I said, I've got time at the moment, and when I do something, I just hook in and do it, and spend 7 or 8 hours out in the shed just during the day.
Has anyone else got something they want to show before we go?
I do.
Oh, Ray has. Brilliant.
I do. So, we've got Yerks Cup 2 coming up. We're in the process of it. And the theme is, as we know, it's using things from the hardware store. Now, I can't buy filament from the hardware store, but can buy whippersnipper cord or weed whacker cord or line trimmer cord. However, it's a different diameter and it's a uncontrolled diameter. So this is a part of the tool head from a 3D printer that is currently in pieces while it's being modified to accept whippersnipper chord.
Oh, nice.
I said I was going to do it, and yeah, I don't know whether it's going to work or not, but I'm going to give it a shot.
Now, is that chord significantly cheaper than buying the actual?
No, it's not actually.
Okay, because I was going to say this could be an amazing hack to put on YouTube, but it just works for
No, it's actually ends up being much more expensive, and the issues that you have with it is that no one really seems to know what it's made from. And if you don't know what it's made from, you don't know what temperatures or flow rate you're able to use. So there is going to be a lot of stinky, smelly, disgusting, blobby messes coming out of that printer before I actually get something that might start to resemble a guitar. One of the reasons I do this is to just, go on a journey and discover and figure out ways of doing things. So that's what I've got to do. And we lost Daniel again.
No. Oh, we had a little cutout.
Nearly got through a stream without it doing that.
Almost.
Well, we're all back.
Yeah.
The computers, the internet don't like you today, Ray. They don't like the idea that you're using things incorrectly.
Every time.
I've been really enjoying a Facebook group that I joined recently, and I can't believe this, but on the parental advisory explicit language of today, no one's gone off tangent, but I'm possibly about to, because the Facebook group is called Pedal Boards of Actual Dickheads, and in it people post their pedal boards and they basically ask to be roasted for their pedal boards, and it's hilarious because people obviously are putting up joke things for their pedal boards or joke questions, and there's a lot about metal zones appearing all the time in it, but someone started posting things like this as well, which I really like. Little fake quotes by well-known guitarists. It's all about the gear, man. The more you spend, the better you sound, by Stevie Ray Vaughan. But yeah, some of the pedal boards are just quite interesting that people put out there. Like this one's got a bit of face on it. But some of them are actual pedal boards. And I actually put out a question the other day, which people thought was a joke, but it's actually something I used to do, which is I lived in a tiny flat, and I was worried about disturbing my neighbours. So when I used to practice my bass, I'd always play unplugged, and that was fine, or with headphones on. And when I did play, it was through my hi-fi. I just plugged into the hi-fi and played through that. It sounded fine, but that led to really interesting suggestions of what else you could play through when I mentioned that. But it's quite a fun place because the main point is to be a troll on it. So you got all these people out there being horrible to each other just to make each other laugh. And it's a kind of interesting take and a break away from the normal Facebook pages that I'm part of. But there you go. Great.
Did you want to talk about the plan for the big stream?
Oh,
in
yes.
the future?
Yeah. Just quick check, Glyn, did you bring anything? I know it was I didn't really mention it before.
Oh, I hadn't planned to, but when we mentioned your one string thing and making stuff out of unconventional stuff, I've got this.
Oh, nice.
Which is a skateboard lap steel, as you can see. Oh, there you go. But I made a little wrong end, like a routing jig to try and get a sort of straight string pull out of it, and bits of window quality aluminium, which is really good stuff. And what I learned really is how incredibly resonant skateboards are, because that sustain, you can't feel it, but if you're holding it like that, this goes on and on and on for about 3 minutes, and you still feel it moving.
Totally.
Well, it's quality maple that's been really, really compressed together. Obviously designed for teenagers to jump on it, which is more than you can say for a 335. But it's surprisingly good. So there you go. And the grip tape's really handy as well on your lap.
The first guitars I built were made out of broken skateboards, but they were made to look like it was a repurposed broken skateboard. So I didn't like chop it up or anything. You can still see the snapped skateboard. They were a bit silly, but yeah, that's what got me into making broken guitars.
All right. There you go. Yeah, I've seen them before where the headstock, where the strings have gone out, where there's tuners around the outside, so the strings go out at angles.
That looks much better though.
So I just thought I'd try and get it, I want to use it as an instrument. So I've got a piezo pickup underneath it as well, and obviously the P90, so you can run the piezo, get a little beat going, and run it through a looper, and then jam on top.
Oh, cool!
So it gets used.
So yeah, just before we go, Brad was about to mention an idea he had.
So what we're sort of loosely discussing at the moment is potentially the idea to do a 24-hour around the world live stream, so we can catch everyone in different time zones around the board. The idea would be that we'd have a few co-hosts and a main host that looks like it might work through this software, and then people can message in and get the link, and then they can stream themselves working in their garage, on whatever project throughout the day. So we'd set a
Well, I don't know what's happening today, but
I blame Ray that time.
Ray was thinking about printing.
Like our good ideas.
So yeah, we can do things like watch Ray's printer go off throughout the day, and so the idea would be we can watch everyone in their different workshops working away on something. So if we set a date, people could make sure they had something ready to go that they could work on, and if people are working away, and then if they run out of things to do, they can stop and sit down and do a sort of chat theme like this with people working in the background. And I think it'd just be really good to get more people involved with, getting themselves out there, maybe, pushing, their socials, and, just being part of a stream that they wouldn't normally be comfortable with doing. I know, like I certainly don't film, but, might be interesting for some people to see, how I work, and that would be the same for other people as well. So then everyone can see how it is we go about business, and in what workspaces. Like I saw the other day that Chris, he's working in a tiny space, and a lot of people think that if you don't have a big giant workspace or a big garage to work in, that you might not be able to do it. But it's really not the case. Everyone has a different work style, different workflow. And help people pick up on, just different tips and ideas and all that sort of thing. And, we can have a running commentary from the background when people aren't working, or just chatting about what it is they're seeing on the screen, and people can ask questions. And I think it would be a really good idea to help bring each other together, and to do it over a 24-hour thing, so you can so everyone around the world can get a piece of that. I think it'd be really cool.
Yeah, I think that sounds like a great idea.
One thing from watching the Crimson streams, they did say that 12 was the limit for hours, I think. So that would be something to do.
I think we might be all right to get around that.
Okay.
But we've got to work out how the logistics work.
Yeah.
But basically, I think I can set up a link on here so we can have up to 15 people at a time on it. And it can be monitored not just by me, but by Brad or some people in different time zones.
Yeah.
And it might
I think a few of us would have to buy this account like you've got, so that we can co-host off your main host. And then we can, because you're not going to be up all day.
No, but I think with the account I've just paid for, because I upgraded it, you might be able to use my account without buying it yourself, paying for it yourself. Okay. But then we'd send people that were interested. So let us know in the comments or contact us on Facebook, wherever you're interested. We'd send you the link. And I think the link would stay the same. So if the stream ends, a new stream could start with the same link. So people can just drop in when they want. And if at any point there happens to be 15 people on the screen, then you can have 25 people on the stream, but whoever's in control swaps it round.
Yeah.
I'm sure we won't have more than 25 at a time. That'd be mad.
Yeah, and we were thinking sort of October to try have a go at it. So it gives people a few months if they want to take part in the whole thing, that they can leave some work for themselves to do or start on something in that stream. And we were also thinking of kicking off morning of a Saturday in Australia, because then that way, us being ahead of time in the future, it'll come round, and then as it travel around the world, it'll be coming into everyone else's Saturday. So hopefully there should be a lot of free space and time for people to participate everywhere.
I'm quite excited by this. But that will give us time to work out the technology as well and recruit people.
Yeah.
I'm just not brave enough to speak.
You can just listen during the chat. So look, before we go, if this was your first time here, fantastic, thank you. I'm pretty certain that next time we come back with the Australian time, it'll be a bit different, because we won't have the sort of slowly introducing each other. We're probably going with topics, or might even have a guest, depending on how the time zones work out. And I've said that I'm going to thank at the end of each show the people that have helped support the show by doing things like super thanks and joining my channel membership, which actually includes Ray down there. Thanks, Ray. I do appreciate that. We've got Dave, who's here, sometimes Dave Dickens, who's here sometimes when we're in the UK, and someone called FPS who just joined. So basically, what with the new hosting costs for the audio podcast as well, I'm just trying to make sure if I can get a bit of money in just to cover the cost of all of that. And I promised Brad, and this was on my list to do yesterday, except I was in bed with COVID, that I would set up a new set of t-shirts that you can buy, because unfortunately the company that I'm using at the moment to sell t-shirts through YouTube doesn't ship to Australia. No. So I've got a different company that now do, so I've got to set up with them. I'm not sure if they ship to America though, so I'll have to work out the best way to do that.
I've just been looking into t-shirts or drop shipping to have one through one company who have franchises all over the world, because obviously nobody wants to pay postage from New Zealand unless they can help it. I know they've got places, they've got at least 2 in Australia, and they've got a few places in the US and all that. I haven't quite got it running, but I can look up who that is.
So I'm going to be using Fourth Wall, because they integrate with YouTube. Before I was using Teespring, and Teespring don't ship to Australia unless you set up a Teespring account, which is the Australian account. And that means I would have to have 2 accounts with 2 different products, both being advertised at the same time. And you'd have to hope that if you were looking in Australia, you click on the right product and it's shipped to Australia. So instead, I'm just swapping everything over to Fourth Wall, who are one of the new YouTube people.
Right.
And do it like that. Oh, thank you, Brad. Brad's just become a member. Thank you. But I will get the shirt sorted out for you.
Teespring also, shipping to Australia is really expensive. It's almost, you pay as much for shipping as you do for the t-shirt, and you can't combine multiple orders from different people. So it sounds like a good alternative.
Yeah, and it takes ages.
Yeah.
Ask Brad how long it takes him to get a shirt from Teespring.
The first jerks, I was the first one to buy a shirt, and I was one of the last people to get it. So, go figure. Just on the signing up for the monthly membership, that sort of thing, I'd strongly encourage just anyone who's a regular part of the podcast itself, jump on and get that membership. That's $2.99 a month, whatever it is, just to help Daniel pay for it, because we all get something out of this. We all get a bit of extra advertising for our name and all that sort of thing. And Daniel does put a lot of work in. So, thank you, Daniel, for doing everything you do. And I definitely strongly encourage everyone who regularly takes a part or even just, watches the stream, to jump on it and grab that membership.
That's very kind, Brad. Thank you. I always feel weird asking about it. We get there I think with the audio stream, and also it's going to go on Spotify videos as well. Hopefully we'll get a few more people listening who will be part of the active, exciting community that we have.
Yeah. Well, look, just on what you're saying there, Brad, the other thing I often notice is the amount of real-time viewers that we have versus the number of likes that we have at the same time. Like, you know, earlier we had 20 people watching at one point in time. Yeah, we only have 3 likes on the video so far. So, guys, what are you doing? Give it a thumbs up.
It's one of those things. When you're watching a video, you just forget. You know what I mean? Like it's that classic like, subscribe that everyone throws out, and you go, "Oh yeah, that's what I was meant to do." You know, like it is what it is.
Yeah, and I guess one of the main things that helps is helping spread the word and sharing it. I try to mention it in Facebook groups when there's one that's sort of relevant. So when we've had a particular guest on, like when Ray was first on, I was trying to promote it a bit in the forums that I'm part of to do with 3D printing and things like that. And yeah, when Glyn was first on, I definitely mentioned it in some pickup groups. But, you know, for me, it's a quality over quantity, and we've got some really great active people that watch it. Looking at the stats, it's hard to tell, but it feels like about 75% of the views are the same people each time, which is great. Mm-hmm. You know, we've got people that come back because there's something about the things we're talking about that resonate with them or they find interesting, which makes it all worthwhile. Great. On that note, thank you everyone for being here. Thank you to people in the live chat. Thank you, Arran, Corey, Brad, Ray, Glyn, and anyone listening in the future. Cool. All right. See you next week.
See ya.
See you later.
Ciao.
The Guitar Builders Collective is a group of like-minded people from all around the world at different stages of their guitar building journey. You can join us over on our forum to seek advice or share tips on guitar building processes, materials and tools, or just to share your builds. On YouTube, we have a regular podcast of Guitar Building Chat where you can join the live stream or watch back on past episodes. Our Instagram page shares posts of members' builds and links you direct to their accounts. And for those of you on Facebook, we've got a private group that you can join, share and chat along with. The Guitar Builders Collective is a welcome and open space for all, so do pop by and say hi.